Hey, good morning, all. Josh's Severe Weather. Happy Sunday to you. Breaking video here covering our major severe weather outbreak over the next 2 days that I'm expecting. I typically am not going to do a Sunday video. Actually, I'm about to hop on to a pretty big vacation, but this is very urgent. So I wanted to share this info with you. Feel very led to do it and want you guys to be prepared for what's going to be a pretty big outbreak here over the next 2 days. We are looking at a widespread area of severe wind, some hail, and probably a few stronger tornadoes stretching from the Midwest down into parts of the Mississippi Valley here later today into early tonight, with the area of greatest concern over Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky, but severe weather all the way down to the Jackson, Mississippi Delta region back into southern Arkansas. These storms will move eastward overnight tonight and then weaken by the time they hit the Appalachians, with daytime heating tomorrow. Perhaps another outbreak of severe winds, hail, and maybe a few tornadoes over parts of North Carolina, Virginia, into the mid-Atlantic region. So it is now the time to prepare for what's going to be dangerous weather over the next 24 hours. And we may see a moderate risk over parts of Indiana and Kentucky due to the threat that I think we will have some severe wind. Right now, the big story is the heat down south. We are currently quiet when it comes to severe weather. However, later today around lunchtime and on, we are likely going to see storm development. An enhanced risk area includes about 20 million people, including places like Fort Wayne, Indiana, Columbus, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Louisville, Bowling Green, Nashville, Jackson, Tennessee, Memphis, Little Rock, Greenville, and just north of Jackson, Mississippi, with a slight risk surrounding that area, all the way back to parts of the Red River Valley, down south into southern Mississippi and Alabama later tonight, as far east as Chattanooga and maybe Knoxville, Tennessee, and as far north as just south of Detroit and Cleveland. Definitely a tornado threat is going to develop here with our strong upper level system that moves through. Wind shear increases. Oops, sorry about that. And we do have a significant tornado risk. Over 2 million people are in that over the eastern half of Indiana, including Louisville. So all of Kentuckiana up to about Cincinnati and just west of Dayton. That surrounds a 2% and 5% risk accordingly here, basically anywhere from southern Michigan all the way down into Tennessee. We've also got a very big area that's going to see severe wind, with our main part of our storm system moving through parts of the Ohio Valley and Kentucky, and then a mesoscale convective system that's going to drop southward through Arkansas into Mississippi. I've been talking about this for a few days now. Now the forecast confidence has climbed to the fact where the Storm Prediction Center expects it as well, over the northern half of Mississippi, most of Arkansas, into Alabama here later tonight. And we could see some very big hail with supercell storms over Indiana, western Ohio, and northern Kentucky, maybe hail over 2 inches. We also see an area of very big hail potential over eastern Oklahoma into central parts of Arkansas, perhaps even into the Memphis, Tennessee area. Now, tomorrow we are going to see also additional severe weather. This includes pretty much all the eastern United States, highlighted over the mid-Atlantic region from South Carolina up to about New York City, and an enhanced risk which includes about 5 million people from the Triad and the Triangle and Fayetteville, North Carolina, up through the Richmond area and all the way up to the mouth of the Potomac River. With that threat, we are likely going to see a few tornadoes, but primarily some intense wind, with wind gusts over 70 miles per hour possible here during the afternoon in a couple of waves. So we could see some significant severe weather. Also very big hail as these storms form around lunchtime, all the way back to the Roanoke Valley, as far north as D.C. and even Loudoun County, Virginia, and then as far south as Charlotte, Statesville, even Hickory, North Carolina, could see significant hail. With potentially almost 9 million people at risk at seeing over 1.5 inches of hail. So if you are planning to be at work tomorrow, you may want to find a place to park your car that's covered and stay away from windows with any of these storms. So a very significant setup expected here. Quieter weather as we get to the day on Tuesday, but there will still be a marginal risk for some severe weather as our trough swings through. And then the next area to watch will be the high plains and Rockies. Here's what's bringing all of it. We've got an unusually strong low pressure system aloft that's riding up and over a strong high pressure ridge. That's bringing very fast wind flow here at 500 millibars, with wind speeds that are in excess of 70 knots here. So some very intense wind coming through with our jet stream, a lot of daytime heating. I'm going to show that to you in a bit. and this trough continues to swing east across the Great Lakes here right on through tomorrow, and then moves into the eastern United States on Tuesday. But very fast wind flow between that and our high pressure ridge off to the south will bring all the nasty weather we've seen in places like Colorado and Texas eastward into the Midwest and the Mid-South today, and then to the eastern United States for tomorrow. This is CAPE, convective available potential energy, storm fuel, and you can see amounts are very high around lunchtime today across Arkansas, Oklahoma, southern Mississippi or Missouri. These are going to continue to feed strong storm fuel all the way up into the eastern Ohio Valley states and as far down as Mississippi. Where the CAPE is highest, the hailstones will probably be the highest, but where it's high enough here, we could also see some hail. As we get into the day tomorrow, that CAPE climbs here in the eastern United States. And I will show you that we've got values that are about as high as they've been all summer in parts of North Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland, with storm fuel CAPE values over 3,000 here just after lunch tomorrow. Actually, this is mid-afternoon around 3 p.m. So we're going to see the potential for very big hail as well due to the fact that we have so much storm fuel all the way up into the Delaware Valley here. And then finally, things die down. As we get to Tuesday, though, you'll see we do see slightly lower amounts, but amounts that are still high enough to maybe be in place for some severe weather. Wind shear is going to be pretty high. You'll see tornado parameters start climbing here this afternoon, especially across southern Indiana and into Kentucky, and then into western Ohio and northern Tennessee. No guarantee of tornadoes here, but you can see there is wind shear, so obviously that is a concern. And then as we shift tomorrow into the mid-Atlantic region, we do see some potential for some tornadoes as well over the Delaware Valley, Maryland, Virginia, even into parts of North Carolina in the afternoon. And then lesser amounts by the time we get into Tuesday. Here's a look at the HRRR model showing you the Ohio Valley. We've got a complex of storms that could produce some severe weather over Middle Tennessee this afternoon. That will continue into Alabama and Georgia. Then we're going to see storms firing up very quickly here around 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon over southern Michigan, northern and eastern Indiana, as well as over the Ozarks region. And look how quickly our storms are growing. And this certainly screams tornadoes to me over parts of Indiana and Ohio. Also very large hail and maybe a tornado or two over parts of Arkansas, although wind shear down there will be weaker. You'll see two main areas to watch here through this evening. This is going to be around 9, 10 o'clock, stretching from southern Ohio down through Kentucky, middle Tennessee, all the way down into the Delta region of Mississippi. And then as we head into the overnight hours, stormy weather continues, although the threat for the worst of the weather does start to wane when we get to about midnight and beyond. Let's take a look at more detailed regions for you guys here. And we are getting some needed rain early this morning in parts of Indiana and Illinois. It's not a lot, but it certainly helps us. We'll take what we can get at this point. You'll see storms firing up very quickly here along the Indianapolis to Jackson, Mississippi corridor. This is 3 and 4 o'clock Central Time, Eastern 4, 5 o'clock. Likely a chance for some stronger tornadoes across this region. If you pull up a sounding here for southeastern parts of Indiana, you will see that there's definitely some significant amounts of wind shear, especially before this first line moves through the area. If you pull it up here, you'll actually see that. A very loaded sounding here. Temperatures are going to get close to 90 today. Temperatures drop very quickly aloft, showing that we'll have strong buoyancy. And you see the wind shear with winds from the south and southwest going up to westerly aloft. So definitely a few stronger tornadoes are possible here, the same areas that got hit about a week and a half ago, and then large hail and strong winds as well. And this risk continues up until about 9 o'clock or so around Cincinnati, and then shifts across southern Ohio and Kentucky with quieter weather overnight. Just a few leftover showers over parts of Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. We'll again take every raindrop that we can get at this point. Here's a look at Ohio, and not a whole lot to worry about until about 4 or 5 o'clock, but between 6 and 7 is when we see conditions likely to be at their worst. Cincinnati around 8 o'clock tonight, Sandusky all the way to just west of Columbus, 8 to 9 o'clock. We'll likely have some severe weather. And then you can see things do slowly wane as we get later into the evening, and then overnight things are out of here. Just some leftover showers tomorrow. But, you know, even tomorrow afternoon, we'll have to keep an eye on some pop-ups here that redevelop along the Lake Erie region for maybe some small hail and some locally gusty winds. Now, the area of greatest concern to me is going to be along the Ohio River here around 6, 7 o'clock, basically north of Bowling Green, Elizabethtown, Louisville, over to Covington and Cincinnati here right through about 6 to 8 o'clock. Storms will continue overnight this evening with severe weather hitting the Nashville area around 9, 10 o'clock Central Time. Bowling Green all the way over to Somerset. Lexington could get hit pretty hard here around 10 or 11 o'clock tonight. Even Huntington, West Virginia, and Pikeville could get hit with a few thunderstorms in the early overnight hours. Over eastern Tennessee, I do think things are going to wane by the time things get south and east of Knoxville to about Johnson City, down to about Gatlinburg, Athens, Tennessee, and Chattanooga. But maybe there could still be a severe thunderstorm warning for locally gusty wind. I just think the worst is going to be earlier in the evening off to your north and west. Quieter weather expected tomorrow across this area, just a few showers and storms. Arkansas does have a big severe weather threat with massive hail possible here over northern Arkansas around 3 or 4 o'clock. And then continuing into the Little Rock area early this evening, we could see massive hail, maybe 2, 3, 4 inches, kind of like we saw in Mississippi a couple weeks ago. Even the Delta region of northwest Mississippi, Memphis, Tennessee has that hail threat. There'll be also locally severe wind gusts over 70 miles per hour. All of this will push south of you here overnight tonight with quieter weather expected tomorrow. Northeast Texas and southeast Oklahoma are going to see some of these storms as well. We'll likely see them in Oklahoma around 10 or 11 o'clock, and then the Arklatex region, including Texarkana, just after midnight tonight, and then down to about Shreveport around 2 or 3 in the morning. Then things will quiet down overnight, and maybe a few isolated strong to severe storms again tomorrow night around the same time, 11, 12 o'clock. So set your clock or go to bed late just to be prepared. We are going to see an MCS dropping south, mesoscale convective system, weaker storms over Alabama and Georgia, but maybe isolated severe weather over those areas. But the bigger concern is going to be moving through northern Mississippi around 8, 9 o'clock, continuing down to the I-20 corridor tonight around 10, 11, midnight central, and maybe even south all the way to Hattiesburg, Montgomery, and Monroeville here overnight tonight. We could see some destructive wind and maybe even some hail. Tomorrow we're going to see some storms as well, but more scattered and less likely we see large hail, and those will come during the evening hours. Here's a look at our rotating storm tracks. You can see big time from Indiana and Kentucky back into northeast Texas. We are going to see quite a big area of storms that may rotate. And then as we get to the day tomorrow, we see the mid-Atlantic region over eastern PA, Maryland, right through North Carolina and Virginia here. Lots of potential destruction with a large amount of helicity, which will drive some stronger downdrafts here. Today, that biggest threat is going to be over Kentucky, Indiana, western and central parts of Ohio, even in the northern parts of middle Tennessee. You can see just a pretty significant outbreak expected. In the southeast, we are going to see scattered showers and storms today over parts of Georgia and South Carolina. Nothing really severe at this point, just whatever comes and survives from this first complex into Georgia and South Carolina. We'll also see some storms in South Florida, but tomorrow is really going to be the day we've got to be concerned with severe weather over parts of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, even Alabama. And this is the NAM model, and you can see it'll be busy right on through the nighttime hours as things sweep down towards the coast, and then a quieter day expected for most of us on Tuesday. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Scattered showers and storms here. This was yesterday's run. Let me get you today's here real quick. Scattered showers and storms popping up here over the evening hours over the entire Northeast. Not going to be a lot, but there could be heavy rain. Tomorrow we see rounds of potential severe weather over New York State, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and everything fills in all the way down to North Carolina, with our prime time being between 4 and 10 o'clock here tomorrow night. Behind this storm, trough will swing through, bringing a few more scattered showers and storms. Some of them could be locally strong towards the coastal plain. Here's a look tomorrow at North Carolina and Virginia, where I think the worst of the severe weather is likely to pop up. This is overnight tonight, not a whole lot to stress about. Tomorrow, though, we do see showers and storms firing up around 2 o'clock over the Blue Ridge, and then down to about Roanoke, Harrisonburg, even Charlottesville. And then around 4 and 5 o'clock, we see big areas of storms moving through the metro DC area and big areas of storms across the Piedmont region of North Carolina, with the worst weather across this area likely between 6 and 9 o'clock here. This is when we see the potential for very large hail, a tornado or two, and destructive wind. And it'll stay stormy overnight all the way into the coastal plain here. After midnight east of Raleigh, we could see very heavy rain getting to about the Wilmington and Leland areas, and then all the way over to the Outer Banks here after midnight tomorrow night. Should be quite a lightning show for you. Farther south and east, not a big concern about the weather today into this evening. Even most of tomorrow is going to start out pretty quiet, but then as we get later on into the evening, we'll see it'll be unsettled, it'll be unstable, and some locally severe storms are expected during the evening hours over parts of South Carolina, eastern Georgia, and certainly across eastern North Carolina. We look at the Delmarva tomorrow. We see a few showers in the morning, and then storms fire up around early to mid-afternoon over the Blue Ridge, over the Appalachians, heading east through D.C., Baltimore, central Maryland around 3 to 5 o'clock. And then eastward, we could see a few tornadoes over the eastern shore of Maryland, over Delaware, and over South Jersey around the 6 and 7 o'clock hours. And then more storms move in over that same area here late in the evening towards about 11 o'clock and midnight. Pennsylvania will see some severe weather tomorrow. Not a lot tonight, but really tomorrow as we get to about mid-afternoon, we see storms which could produce hail with them, strong winds, maybe an isolated tornado. And then most of that is going to be over eastern Pennsylvania right around dinner time and into the early evening. And then additional showers, which shouldn't be severe, will follow overnight. Finally, in the northeast, southern New England, we will have pop-ups this afternoon. Some of them could be locally strong. They'll die off later this evening. We get a break. We'll see more showers and storms moving through the area tomorrow morning and early afternoon. Maybe a line of stronger storms moving up the Albany, Poughkeepsie area of the Hudson Valley. But really New Jersey and the Delaware Water Gap areas where we got to watch things around 3 to 4 in the afternoon. And then these are going to move eastward to the New York City area and then will fizzle here later in the evening with heavy rain potential around the Philadelphia area. All right, that was it, folks. I'm going to head to my vacation. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I pray for all of you to stay safe. I really hope that we keep the fatalities down to 0 and that the damage is minimal, but definitely a potent storm system moving east. It's going to produce quite a bit of severe weather. Be prepared for power outages, and please make sure that you're following any of your watches and warnings that come from your local National Weather Service office. I give thanks to God who gives me the strength to do this every day. I am exhausted. I'm trying to get out the door here for this vacation. And I know the Lord is calling me to rest. As a Christian man, I am very blessed to have another day on earth. I don't think we should take any day for granted, whether or not we're believers or not. But the Lord has commanded me to rest. He's commanded us all to take a day of rest. He created the earth in 6 days and then commanded that we take the 7th day as a day of rest. Typically, that's Sunday for me and for most people. But in Deuteronomy 5:12-14, the Lord says to keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee. 6 days thou shalt labor and do thy work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thine ox, nor thine ass, nor any of thine cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as thou. It's not just you, but your wife, your kids, if you're a farmhand, any of your cattle should take that day of rest because the Lord has commanded it, not just recommended it. Isaiah 58:13-14. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord honorable, and shalt honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words, then thou shalt delight thyself in the Lord. And I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. In a secular word, work hard, play hard. I mean, I certainly abide by that. I really do put my foot down and work hard and prepare and serve the Lord and serve my employers and serve my customers and subscribers here on YouTube so that I can bless my family. But God is actually commanding that we do take time for ourselves, for self-care, to take that day of rest and refresh and regenerate and really spend time in the Word. That's why we worship on Sundays in my church. That's why people take the days off from work so that they can do family meals. But it's not just because we need the rest, but it's because God has commanded us to rest. So I just wanted to give you that general reminder that please take some time for yourself. I think we all need it. It's great to volunteer, bless, and serve other people, but it's also great to follow God's command, and that is to take that time off. I hope you have a blessed end to your weekend. Please be safe, and I will be back from vacation July 6th. I'll do a few updates on my page as necessary, but this is time for me and my family to recharge. We've earned it, and we want you all to be safe. God bless you.